recording our video? Perfect. Thank you, Stacy. Perfect. And first of all, welcome and congratulations on your admission to UC Davis. We're so excited for you to be joining us in the fall. And today's webinar is really just a very basic introduction to major advising resources and support that we're here to provide you. And we're really excited to kind of share this information. This is just a first step. We know that you have your College of Letters and Science advising webinars starting next week. So please be sure to join one of those webinars. And of course, complete your Aggie 101 and your Canvas modules that you'll need to do. But once you get through all of that, you should feel ready and confident for registration for fall quarter registration and for kicking off your orientation in September. All right, so we're going to get started first with an acknowledgement of the land that we're on today, that UC Davis is on in particular. So we should take a moment to acknowledge the land which we are gathered on virtually for some of us, physically for others. For thousands of years, this land has been the home of the Patwin people. Today, there are 3 federally recognized Patwin tribes: the Cachel-Dehe Band of Winton Indians of the Calusa Indian Community, the Quetzal-Dehe Winton Nation, and the Yocho-Dehe Winton Nation. The Patwin people have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. It has been cherished and protected as elders have instructed the young through generations. We are deeply honored and grateful to be here today on their traditional lands. And if many of you have visited the UC Davis campus over the last spring, as you've been deciding what college to attend, hopefully you've been able to see our beautiful campus and get to enjoy all that it has. All right, next slide, Stacy. So, well, first let's do a quick round of introductions so you get to know who we are. My name is Alyssa Megorian. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm an undergraduate advisor in the Yellow Cluster advising team. And we'll explain the Yellow Cluster, but it does include 4 different majors: psychology, cognitive science, philosophy, and science and technology studies. All right, I'm going to kick it off to Jillian.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jillian. I'm another undergraduate advisor with the Yellow Cluster. And then we'll go to Padone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Padone, and my pronouns are she and her. And I'm also another undergrad advisor with Yellow Cluster.
You're muted, Stacy. Not the first time I've done that. Hello, I'm Stacy. I'm one of the other staff advisors for your major. And then we do have 2 other folks who aren't able to join us today, and that's Rachel Hale and Melina Gillies-Doherty.
Awesome. Well, before we go full into our webinar today, I just wanted to take a moment and kind of do a quick recap of what's happening in fall. This last year, as you may have experienced, has been quite a wild year with COVID ups and downs. And I'm sure this is a question on a lot of folks' minds today of what will this next year look like? And while we cannot predict the future, at this point in time, the campus is really going forward with at least 99% in-person classes. So really expect to have full in-person classes this fall. There may be a few, very, very few online or hybrid classes available, but that will be rare. In terms of masking requirements, the current recommendation, strong recommendation, is that students mask, but it is not a requirement at this point in time. Of course, this may change. So please stay tuned to our Campus Ready website, which is updated very frequently and has all the pertinent details on what to expect for this fall quarter. In terms of vaccines, you may have already seen your immunization requirements. Please be sure to follow those requirements and submit your documentation. the COVID vaccine is currently required, except in very specific instances. For example, if there's a medical reason that you cannot get vaccinated, there is an office on campus, the Student Disability Center, that you can contact and request some support in that situation. You can also ask for help if you have concerns about being on campus due to health-related reasons, for COVID and other reasons. Again, you can find lots of details on our Campus Ready website, so please check that frequently, and definitely as you get closer to fall quarter. We also want to remind folks to please make sure that you check your UC Davis email regularly. Your UC Davis email is also how departments on campus will communicate with you about really critical information, such as course registration, signing up for required academic advising appointments, and financial aid, student housing, and many, many other very important things. So please be sure that you're using your UC Davis email frequently. All right, we'll go ahead and take a look at our agenda for today. We're going to cover some general information about academic advising on campus, an overview of majors, as well as different options within the majors, minor options, how to get involved, some really awesome resources, and how to really connect with advising options for the yellow cluster. And then we'll finally end with some breakout rooms so you can all connect with each other today. All right, so academic advising at UC Davis is decentralized. You may have seen this on your Aggie 101 slides. So we here in the Yellow Cluster Advising team, we are all your major advisors. We support you with your major and minor requirements and recommendations. We help you to select major classes. We recommend about 2 major specific classes per quarter. And we also support, of course, with minors within our departments. The college advisors, and when we say that, there's many terms that can refer to the college advisors. They are advisors within the College of Letters and Science. And they support with things such as general education, number of units that you need, writing requirement, foreign language requirement, etc. Aggie advising and first year advising will be primarily with the College of Letters and Science. So we recognize we're not your first go-to people at this moment in time, but of course, we're still here to kind of provide you some general support with major advising. All right. I'll kick it off to Jillian for the next slide.
Okay, so this slide is just kind of a quick overview of who we are. So we already introduced ourselves, but these are our little quotes and pictures so you can see the people that aren't here today, Rachel and Melina. And then you'll also see our alpha assignments. So we do have alpha assignments. So based on last name, you can see who your go-to person might be. But you can talk to and meet with any of us. So when you are able to make an appointment with our office, which we'll go into in the future, or later on in the presentation here, you can make an appointment with any of these advisors. So they will all be super helpful. We'll all help with our, all of our majors that we advise for. So whatever major you are, if it's within, the reason that you're here in the presentation, then we can help you out. So don't worry about that, but you might have a form be approved by somebody that's your alpha advisor. So these are our peer advisors. We do have a great team of about 10 peer advisors that can help you in drop-in advising. We'll go in more detail about that later. But these are current students in our majors that you can talk to about, course questions, academic planning. They can connect you to resources. They're really, really awesome. These peer advisors in the picture in particular have just graduated, but if you do come to our office in the fall, you'll see our new cohort of peer advisors. And then if you come to visit campus, you'll see Young Hall. That's where our in-person advising is, which will begin again in the fall, most likely. But this is our office, so this is where you can find in-person drop-in advising for your major
when we resume that. We're across from the bookstore and the Memorial Union, if that's what she was going to add.
I was just going to comment on our awesome location on
Yes. Yeah, we're right across the street from downtown, right next to the Social Sciences and Humanities building, which is where the College of Letters and Sciences. So we're really centrally located to campus. Okay, so like we've talked about, we have 4 different majors that we advise for. So I'll just go through a quick overview of what those are. So psychology is our biggest major and one of the biggest majors on campus. So we have about 2,500 graduate students, 114 grad students. Did I say graduate students? I meant undergraduate students. 68 faculty and lecturers in psychology. Cognitive science is our second largest major. We have about 640 undergraduates, 30 faculty and lecturers. Philosophy is our third. We have 227 undergrads in that major, 35 grad students, and then 17 faculty and lecturers. And then science and technology studies is our smallest major, but still really, really awesome. We have about 50 undergraduate students, 23 grad students that are doing emphasis in STS, and then 16 faculty and lecturers. And STS is actually interdisciplinary, so a lot of our faculty in that department are also in other departments. So they might be also in cinema and digital media or English or anthropology. So it's a really awesome major. So altogether, we have about 3,300 students that we help advise, and together we're called the Yellow Cluster. So you'll see that term on our website and in our email communications. So you can just think of that as your major advising office, really. Okay, so within those 4 majors, we do have different emphasis options. So you will get to pick, if you came in as a cognitive science major, you'll get to pick whether you focus on a general emphasis or one of the Bachelor of Science emphases. So I'll go over those. So for psychology, we have both a Bachelor of Science and a Bachelor of Arts. The Bachelor of Arts is the general emphasis. So you kind of get an overview of the whole field that we do our research in here in this department. And you also get to kind of pick where you focus within that field. And then we have 2 Bachelor of Science options. So we have the quantitative emphasis and a biology emphasis. And then for cognitive science, again, we have both the Bachelor of Science and the Bachelor of Arts. The general emphasis is the Bachelor of Arts. And then for the Bachelor of Science, we have a neuroscience emphasis and a computational emphasis. Then for philosophy, we only have a Bachelor of Arts, but we do have 3 different emphases. So we have general, we have pre-med for anyone interested in going into a health field after they graduate, and then a pre-law emphasis. And then for science and technology studies, we do have a Bachelor of Arts only, but we do have 4 different emphases. So law and innovation, health and environment, data and media technologies, and history and philosophy of science. So what these different emphases are is they have different classes that are required. So what you can do is take a look at the major requirements that are on our website and that my wonderful colleagues are linking in the chat. And just kind of, if you aren't sure what these words mean and what these kind of majors might look like, take a look at the major requirements and see what classes are required and see which one piques your interest. You do not need to decide in your first quarter or even really your first year, what your major emphasis is going to be. If you're not sure, that's totally normal and totally fine. You're still on track. And then also AB, I'll just point out, you may have seen BA and other institutions that you were looking at. We use the Latin version of Bachelor of Arts, which is just Artium Baccalaureus. So that's what AB means. Okay, so now we can talk about changing your major. So we have a lot of really awesome majors here at UC Davis. So you might be interested in switching your major or even adding a double major. That's totally possible. But the earliest that you can change your major is winter quarter. So your second quarter, once you finish 1 full academic quarter and you have a UC Davis GPA, then you can, that's the earliest you can switch your major. Some majors might have additional requirements, so they might have some lower division requirements that they want to have done before you're able to switch. So it's not guaranteed that you'll be able to switch in winter, but that's the earliest. So you can look up the requirements for any of the majors that you're interested in and kind of check them out and see what you are interested in and what they might require. I just saw a quick chat that I can answer now about minors. A minor is something that you declare like closer to when you graduate. So I wouldn't concern yourself about declaring a minor right now. You have plenty of time to do that. And then if it comes to winter quarter and you want to add a major or change your major, you can do that in OASIS, which is your student record. And then an important note for students in the psychology and cognitive science majors, everyone is admitted to the Bachelor of Science option by default. So if you were planning to do the Bachelor of Arts and you're concerned about your student record saying Bachelor of Science, don't worry, that's totally normal. If you have no desire at all to do the Bachelor of Science, don't worry about doing the like lower division STEM for that major. You can focus on the Bachelor of Arts. So it's totally okay. I would just focus on, you know, your GEs, your general education classes, and a couple major classes. We'll go into that. I'm getting ahead of myself. But don't worry about that for fall. And then a little bit more about minors. So we do have minors, like Alyssa mentioned, in our department. So we have 4 minor options that we advise for. So we have a psychology minor, we have 2 philosophy minors, 1 general, and then 1 with a logic emphasis. And then we have an STS minor that is also called, it's actually called History and Philosophy of Science. But these are our minors. You can do a minor in any subject that's not your major. So if you're a psych major, you can't also do a psych minor, but you could do a philosophy minor or, you know, whatever other minor that you see in the catalog. And we have like 100, so you'll be able to find a minor that you're interested in.
All right, so with this slide, I'm going to kind of give you a little glimpse of what you should be thinking about for fall quarter. But again, I really want to emphasize that the College of Letters and Science webinars are going to be extremely helpful for kind of getting into your general education, you know, thinking more about balance for fall quarter, and letting you know what you should be starting off with. But in general, you should aim to take about 15 units in fall quarter, anything between 12, which is the minimum that you need for full-time status, up to 16 units should be just fine. You know, if you feel compelled to start with some of your major classes, great. 1 to 2 classes maximum is recommended per quarter, but don't feel like you have to have any if that doesn't work out with your schedule and you just want to knock out some GEs in your first quarter, that is totally fine. For if you do end up taking 1 or 2 classes for your major in fall quarter, the rest of your classes really should be going towards your other requirements for your general education and other things that the college will cover in more depth. All right, next slide, please. Oh, and I should say one thing, and you can keep the slide, Stacy. Sorry. I should say that with your course load of 12 to 16 units, please know that for each unit that you take, you should plan on spending about 3 hours of studying and class time for that class. So for instance, for a 4-unit class, you will be spending about 12 hours in studying and preparing for that class each week. And so that's why we really recommend between 12 and 16 units in your fall quarter, because that is a full workload. And we know that folks may have perhaps jobs, you may have family obligations, you may have other things in your life. And so if it feels better to you to do the 12 units, that's totally fine for your first quarter. We want you to really kind of think about the balance of all the things that you're going to be doing, including student organizations and other things that we'll be sharing a little bit more later on in this webinar. So don't overload yourself. 2 STEM classes. I'm just seeing that chat. Yeah, we recommend no more than 2 STEM classes. You may want to start with just 1 in fall quarter, just to get, settled into Davis, learn how to navigate the institution. It's a lot to take in. Davis is a big campus, and also the science classes are pretty rigorous. So if you want to start with just 1 science class in fall quarter, please feel free to take it a little bit lighter your first quarter. And then you can adjust and see how comfortable you feel with maybe taking 2. But again, check in with the College of Letters and Science. They will have more guidance around your fall schedule that way. AP questions. Yeah, if you have AP credit for a specific class, that should be showing up once your records are fully loaded into the OASIS, the Student Information System. I know that undergraduate admissions is working very hard to get these records in. The deadline was just on July 1st. So they're doing a lot of that work right now through the summer. So sorry, I'm going to close my curtain. The light is kind of blinding me. Yeah, so just, hold off until you see that record come into your OASIS system. And if you have any questions, feel free to check in with undergraduate admissions about AP credit or the College of Letters and Science advisors to support you with that. For the second majors, Jillian covered some of that topic already, but you really should be, kind of working on your GEs for fall quarter. If you're thinking about a second major, check out that second major's website, look at the general catalog for the requirements of that other major that you're interested in, and make sure that you have a plan to kind of work towards meeting the requirements to declare that second major. But you will not be able to add the second major or switch a major until winter quarter at the earliest. And that's if you meet all the requirements for switching into it. So you do have to look into that. Thank you. All right. Well, we have some additional resources as well as you're coming in as new students. Let me make sure. Here we go. Yeah, I've got the link that's in our site here. If you want to go ahead and click on that, this has some really great resources and information about major requirements, kind of different sample schedules for you to kind of play around with, and also information on placement exams, which is really critical for those of you who are thinking about starting with a chemistry class, for example. So chemistry and calculus have placement exams. If you're going to be taking a computer science class, an intro to programming class, there's a placement exam for that. And I feel like I'm missing one. If my team remembers the 4th placement exam that happens, please let me know. Maybe I'm thinking of the language placement. Yeah.
I don't remember which ones you mentioned, but there's a computer science one. I don't know if you mentioned that. Calc, Chem. There is definitely a 4th.
And it's on our website, so I should probably refer you to look to that, depending on what classes you're looking at. So please look at those placement exam information and websites specifically if you are planning to take one of those classes, specifically Chem, computer science, and calculus, the 3 C's. Foreign language. Okay, thank you for confirming. All right. Let's just see. Is there anything else? Nope, that covers everything for this slide. And the next slide is about getting involved in your major. So we're super excited for all of you to be joining our majors. We have some amazing opportunities for you to get involved. For psychology, there's the Undergraduate Psychology Association. Anyone can join that. I really encourage you to get involved. If you are interested in PsyChi, that's our Psychology National Honor Society, which you can join as a sophomore or junior. There is a GPA requirement for that, so please be sure to look on our website for that. There's also tons of other psychology and mental health related clubs. If you and you'll probably get tons of information about this during orientation, but our Center for Student Involvement, we have so many different clubs on campus. I think there's over 800, and there are quite a few mental health related and psychology related clubs. So encourage you to look at that. We also have a cognitive science club that's been getting some traction this last year. We're excited to continue the momentum with that. For philosophy, we also have a philosophy club that does an undergraduate conference each year. Very exciting way to get involved. UPAL is the philosophically oriented women's club, very fun philosophy club there. And then we also have minorities and philosophy, and that club has also been getting some more traction in the last year. So we're excited to kind of be reigniting some student involvement in these ways. And STS, our Science and Technology Studies majors, we haven't quite launched the STS club yet, but we've been gaining some momentum, and I know that our director is really excited to get that started finally this year. So look forward to that, and stay tuned with our newsletter. We send out through our Yellow Cluster a weekly newsletter during the academic year that promotes opportunities and events such as these different clubs. Okay. There are also some really incredible research and internship opportunities at UC Davis. You can do research with a faculty member, which is just an amazing opportunity. Whether you're thinking about grad school or jumping into a career, this experience can be really rich and valuable for you, and it's just a great way to become intellectually engaged in this area. There's so many different labs that you can take a look at, and you don't have to look specifically within your major. You can certainly look outside of your major as well. Thank you for Fidone for sharing the link for our psychology and cognitive science research labs. That's a great resource for folks in those majors or who are interested in that kind of research. There's also the we have a link to a virtual lab tour on that website. But we also have an undergraduate research center, which again, you'll get tons of info about during orientation. And that really connects you with faculty all across campus. So if you're interested in a more interdisciplinary kind of approach, you can do research with faculty in different departments. Internships. There are many internships available on campus as well as off campus. Within psychology specifically, we have a website dedicated to internships within the region, Sacramento, Davis, kind of Bay Area region, that students have been approved for in the past, in which you can earn academic credit for, which I should have said, you can earn academic credit for research in one of our research labs as well. And if you do this research or internship in your junior or senior year, once you've earned enough units to be upper division level, you can apply it to your major credit in some instances. All right. There's also an amazing internship and career center on campus, which they have advisors, they have peer advisors, they have tons of events, they have workshops all the time. They have workshops going on this summer. So if you want to join some of those opportunities, you can go ahead and participate in that. They have an internship and career fair each quarter. So you can really just scope out, the opportunities that are available to you. Again, you can get units for both research as well as internships, and these are excellent ways to prepare for your post-grad plans and careers, whether that's grad school or just jumping right into a job that you want to go into. All right. I will kick it off to Stacy.
All right. I love talking about study abroad. So what I want to know is, or first I want you all to imagine that it's possible to study abroad in another country or in another state, and it may not cost you any more than what you're already paying at Davis, and it probably will not delay your graduation in any way. So with those givens, use your emojis in Zoom to indicate if you would be interested in studying abroad during your time at UC Davis. All right, I see a few. Awesome. Well, then let's talk more about it. So psychology, cognitive science, philosophy, and science technologies are all very flexible for study abroad. And it's the institution's mission to make some kind of global learning a part of your journey at UC Davis. The university has put it in their mission for every student to have a global learning opportunity, which means that they're putting their money where their mouth is. And for a lot of students, either your aid might cover most or all of a study abroad opportunity, or if it doesn't, there's dozens of study abroad centered scholarships that you can apply to, and I see students getting those scholarships. So if this is something that interests you, then plan early, be talking to your advisors about your intention to study abroad, and get connected to the folks who work in the office for study abroad called the Global Learning Hub, so that you can get all of those preparatory steps done and make it a realistic option for you. So if you are intending on taking classes for your major while abroad, that is great, and you can do that. We work with students all the time to make sure that they have options for their major while abroad. But in a lot of instances, you don't need to take major classes abroad. Let's say you want to do a summer language immersion program in France, where all you're doing is taking culture and language classes. That's most likely okay too, and probably won't delay your graduation in any way. So the key here is to plan early and to talk to your advisors about your interests in study abroad. All right, so next we're going to talk about some resources that are probably good to have saved or bookmarked somewhere because they're going to be handy later on. All right, so we're going to look at our advising website, how to find information about your major, how to find information about different types of stuff that can help you progress in your major, and some of the websites for stuff we talked about. So this is our Yellow Cluster advising website. And here you'll see some key information just in these little boxes, but I'm going to go directly to the box that says, I'm a new student. So I am going to click on the new freshman area, but before I do that, I want to point out that the frequently asked questions is designed to capture some of the common concerns that we see new students facing during the summer or during the weeks leading up to the quarter beginning. And so if you are feeling concerned or panicked or confused about something, it's a good place to check first the frequently asked questions, because you may be able to get that answer right away. So now I'm going to click on new freshman. And here you can see a bunch of easy links for AP credit, IB credit. These links can also take you to the place where if you took A levels, you can find information about that too. And then placement exams that we were discussing in earlier slides. Okay, and then you'll also see some samples, sample schedules for each of the emphases that you might be interested in. And it pretty much matches the sample schedule that we had in an earlier slide, because you are focused on general education in your first few quarters. All right, so next let's go to this advising tab. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking at each of these websites, but instead I just want to point out some things that are worthwhile to check out earlier on rather than waiting until a few years in the future. We have a whole section on our website for career and grad school opportunities. So if you are wondering, what on earth am I even going to do with my major when I graduate? Or I think that I might know what I want to do, but I just don't know what my options are. Check out this website because it has a lot of those options listed out for you. And it also links you up with some databases where you can do a little deeper research and what some options are related to your major. You can also take note that we have an events website. So anything related to your major that's going to be happening in the near future, we'll have those hooked up on our events website so that you don't miss anything. And then also any kind of form or petition you need for your major is going to be on our forums. But if you're struggling to find other forums for stuff on campus, we have those links here as well. Global learning is where you'll find information for study abroad and other global learning experiences. If you need to access information about what actual courses can count for your major, you would go to this major requirements area. And then if you're interested in research or internships, there is information in the career and grad school section, particularly for philosophy and STS students. But if you are a cognitive science or psychology student, there's more traditional lab experience that are included on this research in psych and cog sci link. And then transferring courses. If you're feeling like you have something that you're bringing over from a community college, or you want to take something at another institution in the summertime and you're just not sure how it could count for your major, this is going to have a lot of information around that for you. Is there anything else I want to show you? There is. So there's a lot of really great information on this slide. The catalog is your contract with the university. So it would be worthwhile for you to at least check out the degree requirements sections of the catalog so that you kind of get a sense of what's expected of you. The OASIS system is something that you've probably been hearing about a lot, either through Aggie 101 or the Canvas modules. OASIS is a crucial system on campus because not only is it how you can access academic planning resources, but it's also where your academic record is. It's where you can see your advising appointments. It's where you can get templates for your major requirements. So it's really useful. The Office of Educational Opportunity and Enrichment Services is what we affectionately call OEOES. And this office we refer students to very often because anyone who's interested in applying to graduate school or law school or an MBA program, they're the experts over there. Success coaching and learning strategies are two areas of this office that are super cool because if you meet with a learning strategist, they'll help you take inventory of your study skills and your study habits and help you study smarter instead of harder. And success coaches can help you develop goals for yourself. And then if you meet with them regularly, they'll hold you accountable to the goals that you made for yourself. And then the Internship and Career Center is an immense resource on campus. If you have questions about how to make your resume the best it can be, even if you're thinking that you don't have a lot of experience, the Internship and Career Center, even just the website, will help you understand transferable skills and how to squeeze the most out of any of the experiences that you've already had. They also are in charge of our campus employment portal. So if you're looking at finding a part-time job on campus, or if you have work study, then ultimately you will be interacting with this office through our handshake program. And there's so much more that this office has to offer that I hope you poke around on their website and start utilizing that stuff. Health Professions Advising is a website and an office completely dedicated to helping students prepare for a health or medical career. Because UC Davis is a part of a larger health network, because we have a medical school, we have a nursing school, we have a public health grad program. Because of this network of medical professionals, undergraduates on this campus who have a goal of going into the health field are at an advantage. One of those advantages is that there's a whole advising office dedicated to helping you get into medical school, nursing school, physical therapy, XYZ. The Student Disability Center is the office on campus that helps support students who are living with a disability or some medical condition or some learning difference, or basically anything that makes learning or being on campus a different experience for you than possibly other students. And so if you feel like you fit into this category, please hook up with the Student Disability Center as soon as possible, meaning this summer, so that if you are eligible to get registered for accommodations, you can go ahead and receive those accommodations starting in the fall. And then health and counseling services on campus is our student clinic, both for medical and mental health. So this is the go-to for dealing with your immunization and vaccine requirement. And it's also just where you go if you're feeling sick or if you have ongoing prescriptions that you're dealing with, or if you feel like you want to hook up with a therapist or anything related to that. All right, Jillian's next.
Okay, so this is our last main slide for today's presentation, and this is just about your advising options. So this was our, the major advising yellow cluster presentation, just to introduce ourselves so that you can kind of get connected with the resources related to your major. But your primary advising office for the summer and for your first year is going to be with the College of Letters and Science, like we've mentioned. So for Aggie advising, once you've completed Aggie 101 and the Canvas modules, you are able to meet with a College of Letters and Science advisor one-on-one. So you can schedule an appointment with them in the appointment system, which should be linked in those Canvas modules. And they're also doing their own webinar that will be really, really important next week. So make sure you go to one of those webinars, because these different advising offices advise on different things. So you'll want to get in touch with them about, understanding how to build a fall quarter schedule and all your general education requirements and all of those things. So that will be a really awesome resource for you next week. And then once, another thing about the first year advising. So during your first academic year, you'll be meeting with the Dean's Office advisors or the College of Letters and Science, same thing, for all of your advising needs, because your main priority in your first year is your general education. So they will be your biggest resource in your first year for advising. So once fall quarter begins, if you have questions about your major requirements, you can access drop-in advising. This is meant for like quick questions about your major, picking classes, questions about classes for our peer advisors, because they're the main ones that kind of work our drop-in advising. And primarily we're doing it on Zoom. What the thing will look like, what this whole process will look like next academic year is to be seen, but we'll probably do, maybe a mix of in-person and drop-in advising, or in-person and Zoom advising. And then starting in your second year, so in your sophomore year, you'll be able to book appointments with our office. So for your first year, you won't be able to make an appointment with our office, but you can access us via drop-in advising. And then on to the next slide, we also have email advising that you can reach out to. So in this slide, take a screenshot of this. Any questions you have related to your major, you can email us and we can help you out via email. And that's the main thing. I did see a quick question about whether the college will be contacting you. They should be sending you emails about the webinars, so check your email for that. But in order to make an appointment, that's up to you to schedule an appointment in the appointment system. And it's appointments.ucdavis.edu. Somebody wants to put that in the chat. Yeah, so now we have time for questions. We haven't gotten to yet. Feel free to, we'll give a couple minutes for you all to think of them and type them into the chat. And then once we're done with questions, we'll have an opportunity for breakout rooms for you all to get to know each other in your major.
I see a question that came to me that is, what if all appointments are booked? Depending on who you're trying to book with, the answer to that can change. So if you're talking about an office that you should be able to meet with, like we keep telling you that Letters and Sciences advising is going to help you in your first year. So if their appointments are booked, that's okay. You can be persistent and keep checking, or you can email them directly, or you can utilize their virtual front desk, which is essentially drop-in. If it's a different office that this person is referring to, then just check out their website to see who's allowed to make appointments. So you may need to email them. You may check to see if they have a drop-in situation where you don't need an appointment. And so I would just refer to the communication that's on the office's website.
And then to the first question that we got, yes, the first advising appointment that you have over the summer will be with the College of Letters and Science, not with our office. You won't have access to our appointment system right now. And then the next question, if we already used our one appointment with an advisor for the summer, where can we get additional feedback or help with our schedule? You can go to the virtual front desk with the College of Letters and Science. They should be able to help you out with some drop-in advising help. Do I have to complete the writing placement survey, or will my English scores replace that? So that would be a really awesome question for the College of Letters and Science, because that's related to your general education requirements. So we wouldn't be able to give you a concrete answer on that, but you may be able to find information in the Canvas modules about that too.
For the next question that I see on how do you use CC classes, I'm guessing you're meaning community college classes for units at UC Davis. So if you've already earned some community college credit, you've taken some classes at a community college, be sure to send your transcript to UC Davis. So it can be added to your student information system. The undergraduate admissions office will evaluate to see what credit you will receive. If you want to take a sneak peek at what credit you might already have, you can use assist.org. That's assist.org. It's a system where you can input your community college that you have, select then the next institution would be UC Davis. And if you search by department, you can view, the department that you say you took a calculus class. So you would put in math as the department, and you can view the articulation agreement between that community college and UC Davis and see if you have specific credit. If you're not earning specific credit, you can still earn general transfer credit, numbers of like units for that class.
I'll take the next question, which is there a limit as to how many majors or minors you can take? Not really. You have other types of limits that you are responsible for. So for example, you're not supposed to be taking more than a total of 225 units. So how many majors or minors can you fit into that? Usually it's not going to be that many. Like a double major is very realistic. A triple major, that's super uncommon. And same with minors. Minors are typically like half the units of a major or 20 units. And so as you progress as a student at UC Davis, you'll get a sense of what kind of flexibility you have in your degree program based on your major and other types of programs you want to add. And academic advising is great at helping you understand this.
And I just put in a link to the College of Letters and Science website about registration, and it has dates for registration. So it begins in early August. You should receive your own individual registration day and time in OASIS. So check your OASIS record. It should be on your homepage on the right-hand side. And then if we decide to switch majors after our first or second year, would we be behind in receiving an AB or a BS for that major? Typically, no. Your major is like only a piece of what you're doing here at Davis. So I would say after your first year, definitely not. After 2 years, it kind of depends on the major. So if, say, for example, you were pursuing a Bachelor of Arts, but you decide to go into a biological sciences major, you probably have a lot of lower division STEM to do. So I would be thinking about that in your first year, kind of considering whether you are interested in potentially getting a Bachelor of Science that would require those STEM classes. But typically you have some wiggle room in your first year to kind of test out the waters and see what you're interested in. Does anyone else have anything to add to that? No. The next question I see is, what if I fail to register for certain major courses? I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you mean like in your first quarter, really, if you only take general education classes in your first quarter, you're probably still pretty okay. If you want to provide any more clarification about what you mean by that question. Are preparatory classes the same as classes required to declare a major? It depends, like yes and no. Oftentimes if a class or if a major has requirements to declare, those are part of the preparatory. So like, for example, if a student is not a psychology major and wants to switch, they have to take and complete at least Psych 1, Intro to Psychology, and Psych 41. Intro to Research Methods for Psychology. Those two are required, and those are two of the preparatory classes. But there are other preparatory classes for that major that are required, but not required to declare, if that makes sense. So it depends on the major.
And Manny asked, is there a list of classes that fill up faster during past time so we can plan ahead? That's a good question, and it's a good thought, but it's more complex than just a list of classes because it'll depend on what your major is and what you're trying to do. So for example, if you are a psychology major, then you have priority access to psychology classes, and those wouldn't be impacted for you like they would be for someone who's not a psychology major. Another example is you're a cognitive science major doing a computational emphasis, and you are trying to take computer science classes. Those classes in computer science you don't have priority access to, so some of those could be impacted. And so it really is just on a student by student basis based on what your goals are and the classes that you're trying to take. If you're really concerned about it, advising can help you understand what to expect with course registration. But in your first 2 years, you have a ton of flexibility in what you can take from quarter to quarter. This is really only a concern for people who are in their senior year and they have very few classes they have left to take. And if they don't get into them, they might not graduate. And so that's not the situation that you're in. And so I really wouldn't be too concerned about it right now.
And for Daniel's question, is an appointment with an advisor required this summer, or do I set up an appointment when I'm on campus in September? I would refer to the College of Letters and Science website, which I just put the link in there for. They absolutely require Aggie 101, the Aggie Advising Canvas. The webinar and meeting with an advisor is listed as optional on their website, but if you have lots of questions, I definitely recommend attending the webinar. That's going to be extremely helpful. And if you still have further questions, please schedule an appointment with an advisor you know, when you can kind of fit it in when you need it, or you can also go to the virtual front desk for quicker, you know, kind of drop-in style advising. So it's not required, but you know, certainly a resource there if you need it. And then about the iPad for note taking, I think a lot of students use their laptops during class, or, you know, some still like to take handwritten notes, which is great too. Whichever you feel more comfortable with. It's really up to you, and also the needs of the specific class. Some classes may have specific requirements for tools and equipment.
So the next question is another question about double majoring. You can declare when you meet the requirements for that major. So whichever major you are interested in, check out their declaration requirements. Once you meet them, you can declare. It's on a specific year. The earliest is winter quarter. And we have some more information in the presentation. If you missed that part, we'll upload a recording of this presentation. And I see Stacy answered the question about the pre-med. Pre-med is not an emphasis. It's like it's not a major. It's just like a desire. Any really major can be pre-med as long as you fulfill the pre-med requirements, which are on the HPA website. But yes, cognitive science with a neuroscience emphasis is a popular option for students that are pre-med. Major in psychology, I'm wondering if there is no open seats for general psychology or similar major courses, is there anything I can do? There's a couple parts to this question. I'm wondering if you're looking at Schedule Builder and you're seeing that there is 0 seats available in Psych 1. That does not mean there are 0 seats in Psych 1. I know that is very confusing, but we do something what's called seat release, and there's a lot of information in the campus modules about this. But what seat release means is for the classes that new students typically take, like Psych 1, general, like intro to stats, those intro classes, those are really popular classes that students want to take in their first quarter. We hold back seats for those classes for your incoming class. So what you see in Schedule Builder right now is not an accurate representation of how many seats are going to be available in the fall. We open up those seats prior to each registration time. And there's a certain number of seats held for each registration time. So it's not that you are disadvantaged if you have your second registration time. There's different pools of seats that are held for those. My other point to that is if you don't get into Psych 1 in your first quarter, which is possible, a lot of students want to take that, not everyone can in one quarter. We would just aim to take it in winter quarter and focus on the general education classes. Can I take classes out of my major requirements for exploration? Absolutely, please do. We really want you to explore in your first year, take advantage of the classes that are available, see if there's any double majors that you might be interested in, or dual minor, or just take classes for fun. There's so many classes at Davis. Your major is only a small piece of what you do here at Davis. So please, yes, explore. We want you to do that. Do pastime change for future quarters, and if so, how are they determined? You get a new pastime every time you register for classes, every quarter. It's determined by your number of units and your class standing. So first years have a range of dates that they get. Sophomores have a range of dates that they get. More specifically, how those are determined, that is a mystery that I do not know. That is with the registrar's office. I'm sure they have some sort of mechanism. I don't know if Alyssa maybe has any feedback on that.
Your pastimes are generated, like your grouping is really like based on the number of units that you have. So the more units that you earned, the higher the pastime you will have as you go on. Does that make sense? There was also a question that came to me individually. I just want to kind of address it out to everyone before we move into our breakout groups. You may have seen that you might have an immunization hold on your account. Please make sure that you follow the immunization requirements, upload the required documents to our health center. and make sure that you're getting all of that taken care of as soon as you can this summer. The hold does not affect your fall quarter registration, but if you do not meet the requirements, well, aside from COVID vaccination, I believe there's a specific timeline for that. But for the other immunizations, if you're struggling to get the documents or whatnot, please contact the Student Health and Counseling Center. They can support you with the requirements and what you need, and making sure that you can get that all taken care of and have the hold released once they review and approve it.
There's a couple final questions that I can answer very quickly before we move on to our social time. One is there a difference between the AB and BS when pursuing a graduate program? Really good question, and it's a really common question. And the answer kind of depends on what your career interests are, but generally the answer is no, it probably won't make a difference. We talk about this in detail in a YouTube video on our YouTube channel. I'm going to toss that in the Zoom chat for you so that you can access that YouTube channel. There you go. And find that video. And then another student is having issues with drop-in advising in the Zoom chat. And I would just suggest that you follow up with more details in the email for the office that you're trying to access drop-in, so that we can kind of help you individually. And I think with that, let's just go ahead and transition to our social time. Someone who's not presenting, can you drop this information into the Zoom chat for people? And I'm going to take this opportunity to end our Zoom recording so that we can wrap up our video for people who are tuning in on YouTube. So thank you everybody for watching us, the Zoom recording of this event. And again, if you have questions, you can follow up with Letters and Sciences or with us via email or in drop-in in the fall. Bye.